the first public open house. It's a virtual open house for the Norann subdivision area road reconstruction. I'm gonna introduce the project team. We've kind of already introduced you guys, but we're gonna introduce the project team. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about signing in, talk a little bit about the meeting procedures and etiquette. The team will go through a project presentation, and then we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions and the team will answer them. Then at the end, we'll talk about how you can stay involved as the project progresses. So I'll pass it to Nicole first. You can introduce yourself, please.
Hi all, I'm Nicole Ream, and I work for Professional and Technical Services. We are a consulting firm here in Anchorage, and we have a term contract to manage projects for the city through project management and engineering. And I have been assigned to manage this project.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, we'll go to Connie next.
Hi, I'm Connie Yee. I also work with PTS with Nicole Ream, and I'll be working with her, fulfilling like project administration type role.
All right, we'll go to Justin next.
Hello, I'm Justin Keene. I work for CRW Engineering Group, and I'm the design project manager for this project.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, I was muted there. My name is Rob Burdick. I also work for CRW Engineering. I'll be helping Justin along with the project and taking care of the detailed design effort for the project.
Okay, so my name is Holly Spoth Torres, and I have a small company called Huddle, and I'll be working on public involvement. So a lot of the comments and things that you send will come to me. And Michelle, you're last but not least.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Fairbach, and I work with Holly at Huddle.
Okay, Keith, I saw you had your hand up. Look, I'll address your question first. Go ahead.
It's to Rob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you have family that worked at the airport?
I did not. Must be
Okay.
a different Burdick.
Okay, just curious.
Nice.
I'm Keith. I work at the airport.
Hi, Keith.
My house is at the end of the runway.
Cool. Okay, and I guess Andy, would you like to say anything else about yourself? We know you live on 58th, but anything else you want to share?
No, not really.
Okay, that's perfect. I just like to give the opportunity. What about you, Jason?
Oh, well, I have some questions, but I think they're ones that need to come at the end of it. You know, I'm just wondering, like, you know, are you going to be tearing up our yards and stuff like that? And if so, would there be any chance of me getting a brick wall put up there? And so is that stuff that's got to wait till the end?
Yep. We're gonna have Justin give you the presentation first, and then we'll get to that question at the end. But it's good for the team to know what's on your mind already.
Okay.
Okay. So just so you all know, you know, you normally come into a building and you sign in, but I'm able to download a sign-in report from this meeting. So I'm going to have a sign-in meeting or a sign-in record of the project meeting here tonight. If you would like to send me your email address, if you think I don't already have it and you're okay with that going into the chat, you can put that in the chat as well. If there's any reason you don't want to share it, Michelle is going to put my email address into the chat, and you're welcome to communicate with me without everybody knowing your email address. So, and then you know how to get in touch with me. So that'll be in the chat if you need it. So when Justin starts presenting, I am going to have you all put yourselves on mute if you can find that. That'll help things go a little bit smoothly. We're a pretty small group. You can keep your cameras on, but sometimes it helps with distraction if you turn your cameras off. The rest of the group then can focus on the presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. That way you don't forget what was on your mind, and we'll able to address each question as it comes up. If you don't put it in the chat, we'll have a discussion time at the end too. You'll have the opportunity to provide comments or ask questions at the end. So as you learn more information from Justin's presentation, yeah, start thinking about what you want to ask. Again, I'm going to say it again. Please keep in mind the meeting and the chat are being recorded. Okay. So now I'm going to pass the screen off to Justin, and Justin is going to give you some content on the project, some more details.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Holly. Do you see my screen okay, Holly?
Yes, it's great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So yeah, as previously mentioned, my name is Justin Keene. I work for CRW Engineering Group and the design project manager on this Norann Reconstruction project. So here I got a graphic showing the project location and limits. You guys are probably aware of this already, but the limits extend from Arctic Boulevard, both along 57th Avenue and 58th Avenue, and include Cope Street between 58th and 57th Avenue. So this graphic shows the project timeline, kind of where we've gone and where we're eventually going to get to. What we've done so far up till this point is we've developed a project website, and we've sent out a project questionnaire to gather comments and feedback from the residents. We've also, as you guys probably saw this spring and summer, done some data collection and field work. That included doing a geotechnical soil investigation. So we drilled 6 soil borings out within the project limits to determine the subsurface soil conditions. From that information, we developed a draft geotechnical report with some recommendations for a proposed roadway structural section. We also did the topographic and right-of-way surveyings to map all the existing features out there. From that survey, we've developed our existing topographic base map as well as our right-of-way base map. And I'll show you a view of those a little bit later on in the presentation. We also did some traffic data collection. We set up a couple speed radars on 57th Avenue and 58th Avenue to determine whether speeding was an issue, and also determine sort of how many vehicles per day are traveling on the roadways to understand a little bit more about the corridor. Lastly, we did a parking study to see what sort of parking demand is out there on all the project roadways. So of course we are here. I guess that brings us to where we're at right now, which is in this public house, open house number 1. From this point, we'll move into the design study memorandum and hope to finish up that in the late fall of 2021. And that's basically going to go through some different alternatives, come up with a preferred alternative that will eventually move on into the detailed design. Unfortunately, we do not yet have funding secured beyond the design study memo. Once we do receive funding, though, we will start the design, develop what's called a 65% or preliminary design. And at that point, we will have another public open house to bring the public up to speed, answer more questions, kind of give everybody a timeline of ultimately when we plan to go to construction. Once we'll do an agency review to make sure we address all the agency comments, concerns. We'll finalize the design and then eventually move on to construction, which again is still to be determined. But the good news is we are, this project is moving forward. We just don't quite have a timeline of when it'll ultimately get constructed. So I think everybody probably is very aware of the project purpose and need, but we'll just go over it anyways. The purpose of the project is to reconstruct the roadways within the project limits, improve drainage, and provide new lighting. The existing conditions of the pavement and curb are very poor, and significant ponding in the roadway often occurs due to the very flat grades. And this is all requires regular attention from MOA street maintenance. So as shown here in this photo on 58th Avenue, viewing west, you know, this poor surface conditions as well as curb just does not function as it originally intended to do so. Let's talk a little bit about some of the existing conditions that are out there right now. So the existing right-of-way width, which is the area where the municipality of Anchorage owns and maintains and is able to upgrade, is 60 feet wide. The posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour. And 57th and 58th Avenue both have rolled curb and gutter. From our traffic analysis, we found that the 85th percentile speed is about 17 miles per hour. So that's what about 85% of the traffic out there travels at. You'll have people that are, you know, traveling lower and higher, but that's sort of the 85th percentile speed that is a normal value to track. The average daily traffic volumes are 140 vehicles per day on 57th Avenue. And then on 58th Avenue, kind of similarly, the 85th percentile speed is a little bit higher at 19 miles per hour. And the average daily traffic volume is 170 vehicles per day. We didn't acquire any traffic data on Cope Street. And there's no curb and gutter out on Cope Street currently. On this slide, we've also just got a couple photos shown on 57th Avenue, one of snow-free conditions. Obviously, you can see the not so nice pavement surface here, but you know, what's really prevalent between the snow-free and the snowy conditions is the snow storage is really happening in the roadway. So, you know, every year during the winter when the snowplows come out there, there's just really no place to plow the snow because of many of the existing private improvements that are so close to the back of curb. Typically, the municipality street maintenance requires 7 feet of available snow storage from the back of curb. So it's definitely lacking currently, and that just results in less parking during the snowy conditions and actually less space to drive. And we'll talk more about some of these existing private improvements a little bit further in the presentation. So here's another slide with existing conditions and a couple more features out there. So the roadway width 57th and 58th Avenue are both approximately 32 feet wide, measured from back a curb, and Cope Street varies from 21 to 25 feet wide, measured from edge of pavement. On-street parking is allowed, of course, and there's no existing sidewalks currently. Drainage is supposed to be handled by 2 catch basins at the low point as 58th Avenue transitions to Cope Street, but unfortunately drainage doesn't make it there effectively, as shown here in, I think, what's referred to as Lake 58th Avenue. These lakes, both on 58th and 57th, develop every spring break just because there's just not adequate drainage out there, and the drainage isn't effectively making it to where it should go. Lastly, lights are located sort of sporadically on wooden poles out there. So here we'll talk a little bit in more detail about private improvements in the right-of-way. So these include such things as fences, retaining walls, trees, bushes, and landscaping. So to kind of get an understanding of where the right-of-way or the property line is compared to the back of curb, it's about 14 feet. And I'm going to just kind of rough in what this might look like. And this is by no means accurate, but just sort of gives you a sense of how much stuff is sort of within the right-of-way. And so that 14-foot measurement, there we go. So yeah, just looking at one side of the road. So as you can see, you know, fence and the retaining wall, these are all items that are sort of within the right of way, encroaching on the snow storage. And some of these features, unfortunately, even though they've been there for a long time, will be impacted by reconstruction and will require them to be removed or reset onto property. Here's our overall plan view of our existing topographic base map. So we went out and surveyed all those features as well as our right-of-way base map kind of combined. So we're seeing all these things down here in the legend. And I probably, for looking at this in a presentation, it's probably a little bit overwhelming. So one item to note is we will be posting this entire PDF presentation such that you can, you know, zoom in and kind of review this in detail at your own leisure. So what I'll do is kind of zoom into a spot on the map to sort of go over some of these items that we've talked about on the previous slide. So that 60 foot of right of way is shown right here. So this dimension, so basically, you know, the muni is owning and operating this 60 feet from here to here. And then of course, people's property sort of extend beyond that. So anything beyond that property line, of course, is, you know, the property owners, you know, land, and they're able to improve it and install whatever they would like on it. What really is enlightening here is between a couple of these parcels, you can see this existing fence line on parcel 46, and maybe I'll back up just a moment. We did put on addresses on each parcel just so you as a resident can easily kind of figure out where you're located on the roadway. These individual parcel numbers are nothing more than a parcel number that we've assigned to each parcel just to make it a little bit easier to track as we move the project forward, but they don't really mean anything aside from you know, how we use them within our project. So looking at this orange line here, these are existing chain link fences, and as you can see on parcel 46, the fence is more or less right on the property / right-of-way line. You move over just a little bit to parcel 47, and you can see that that fence is, you know, I don't know, 5 to 7 feet from the property line. So this kind of relates back to some of these existing private features are going to be impacted during construction, and we'll either be able to certainly reset the fences back on the property line. If an owner doesn't want a fence reset, then you know, it can just be disposed of as part of the project. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about that, which we can go over, but that's kind of the quick thing that I wanted to highlight on the map. And again, this map will be posted, so I won't spend too much more time on it, but you know, we've done a very extensive survey to really determine what's out there, where the property lines are, and it's going to allow us to move forward into the detailed design. Let's talk about some of the proposed improvements. So these may include an insulated roadway base and asphalt pavement, which is really intended to help protect this road from moving like it does right now. Rolled curb and gutter, a pipe drainage system, driveway reconstruction to match into the proposed roadway grade. So we'll have to reconstruct people's individual driveways to match into what we do in the roadway, just to make sure it's a smooth transition. Street lighting, and then there may be some utility relocation as required for the improvements. We've developed a typical roadway cross section shown here, and I'll kind of go through sort of, again, yeah, you can study this more once we put the PDF on the website, but we'll sort of walk through some of these elements. So back to this right of way. So it's 60 feet wide again. So this is over here's where, you know, the property owners own this space. And then here is, you know, the MOA course owning that 60 foot of right of way. We are likely going to just replace what is out there in regards to the roadway width. So the 32 feet is the existing roadway width, which will also be the proposed width. Cope Street, obviously, that's a little bit different, but we will go ahead and match this same width for Cope Street and put in, you know, the rolled curb and gutter. And the rolled curb and gutter is what's out there right now, and it's just basically allows you to drive over the curb, you know, to access your driveway and parcels. The roadway structural section, that's what's kind of shown here. So basically we're going to be coming in, putting in brand new non-frost susceptible gravel material to try to minimize that differential frost movement that is occurring out there every spring and winter and just really moving around a lot. We'll also be putting in roadway insulation to reduce that frost penetration. We do have to extend the structural section 4 feet beyond the back of curb, and that's to basically protect this curb from heaving over time. You know, what we don't want to do is come in with a brand new roadway and have the same issues that are occurring out there right now, where that curb is really heaving and undulating. So that's kind of why we have to go a little bit wider and just really protect that curb from movement in the future. The storm drain, we don't exactly know what that layout's going to look like. That's why we say location and depth varies, but we believe we can extend a storm drain both from 57th and Arctic and 58th and Arctic to provide some more catch basins along the project roadways. And that'll be really analyzed more during the design study memo, but that's really going to improve, you know, having these lake situations occur every spring. Other items to note, so here, these existing fences, you know, you can kind of see they're pretty close to the back of curb. We'll have to either, like I said before, relocate the fence to the property line, or if the owner, you know, has a tree maybe right at the property line, we can always relocate the fence a little bit further onto property. The last option would be we just don't put the fence back in if the owner, you know, doesn't want it relocated. Existing landscaping will have to also be removed within the construction limits. What we don't have shown on this graphic was that 7-foot snow storage area, which MOA street maintenance needs for snow storage. So we'll be trying to attain that on this project also. All right, so some of the next steps that we kind of talked about on the timeline already is we'll be developing the design study memorandum, which will investigate design alternatives and provide a recommended alternative. We'll be providing in the design study memo preliminary design drawings, project cost estimates, anticipated utility relocations, and right-of-way impacts. And then once funds become available, we'll of course start on the design, implement the preferred alternative from the DSM, and we'll have that additional public meeting after 65% complete design. We'll also be, you know, updating the project website as we move forward and sending out the constant contact emails. So if you haven't signed up for those yet, please do so on the project website. So I think it's time now for some questions and hopefully answers to keep the presentation moving forward. Does anybody have any questions?
So why don't we start with I think Jason, you were the one who had the question right out of the gate, right? Why don't we start with your question if you wanna ask it.
Okay, well, I mean, he says he's gonna be tearing up the yards and relocating them back. And I'm the one who has the big raised yard. I have the only raised yard on the street. So when you pull that up and remove it, can that be replaced with a brick wall?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jason. I recall meeting you out there when we did our site walk, and you had the retaining wall that you constructed. Was it with tires?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so I believe we definitely won't be able to reconstruct a wall within 7 feet of the back of curb. And typically, the municipality of Anchorage doesn't replace private retaining walls that are in the right of way currently. So I don't know that that would be something that the Muni would be interested in doing. I don't know, Nicole, if you have any additional comments.
Yeah, so I remember you from when we had our site visit. So essentially, what typically happens is if you want to have private improvements in the right of way, you have to obtain an encroachment permit. If you do not have an encroachment permit, then physical, not necessarily all landscaping, but physical barriers and things that are in the right of way get moved back to your property line so that we could rebuild the wall for you on your property line.
Yeah, but I mean, could I have that? Could I have a brick wall put there, or or are you gonna rebuild it with what is there? Is my question, I guess.
You know, that's I think we could add something like that to the contract for sure. I
Okay.
mean, like a little keystone wall or something.
Yeah, yeah, just a brick retaining wall back where it's supposed to be. I mean, I have no control over that, so that's fine. But yeah, just replace it with a nice brick wall there. And then I have another question. I know you after it's all done, you're going to be putting dirt in and putting in grass. If I didn't want grass put in front of there, down by the roadway, does that have to happen?
There would need to be final stabilized surface and I suppose that's a strange question to me. I think we would want to put back grass, but what were you thinking?
I was thinking of making that a flower bed right down by put perennials down there, so I don't have to worry about going down there and mowing the municipal land.
Right. So putting improvements into the right of way is not something that we can condone. But so I don't think that we would put, I'm just guessing, but we would put anything in there, although that's not 100% for sure. It's betterments. It just depends on a lot of things, street maintenance, right of way. Landscaping is often put into the right of way though. So it just depends on whether or not it's acceptable and what it is.
Yeah,
Those are
like if
it's a
like
tough
if you
question to answer today, but
yeah, like if you just left it dirt or whatever, and then maybe put some mulch over it, and then I could come in after the project's done and plant some perennial bulbs in there that come up every year. Is just kind of what my thinking is.
yeah, I don't know if that would be suitable. But I think what might end up happening is, and you didn't hear this from me, oh wait, we're recording, is that, we would put grass there. And then, if you came in and put in improvements in the right of way, that would be at your own risk. But that's likely what would happen. I do hear you though, having a lot of grass in outside of your yard can be a maintenance
Yeah,
consideration.
the community doesn't come and mow it. I have to mow it. So
Understand. I hear what you're saying. it's something I've been thinking about myself. We're not putting anything in place there for pedestrian amenities that would take up that space. So I don't have an answer for you today, but I hear you and we've got your request in, and we'll take a look at what we can do in all of, because there's going to be a lot of properties with grass
Yeah,
on the
I
on the
understand all that.
outside of their fence, and you're going to want to take care of that if you're a property owner. And I agree that that's going to be an issue. So, yeah, we're the jury's out on how we're going to deal with that, but duly
Well,
noted.
I just put the bug out there, put it in your ear, and hopefully you guys will think about it and see
Yep.
what you can do for me, or and we'll just
For
move from
everyone,
there.
really. Right.
I mean, I'm
There's,
not going to complain one way or the other because at least we're going to get a much nicer, improved road. So that's the main thing, isn't it?
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Okay.
Especially near your property on the other side of the road.
Oh yeah, I'm going to miss my lake every spring.
All right, I'm gonna move to Andy or Keith now, and if you think of another question a little bit later, Jason, that's fine. But go ahead, Keith.
Can you go back to the map that you had showed
Yeah.
us?
Sure.
Okay, now locate 958 on West 58th.
Okay, 958. Okay, right here. Gotcha.
Okay, you see where you have a drainage there?
Yeah, this catch basin right here, that existing. Yep.
Does that drain down between the two houses?
Yes.
Well, it has
Yes.
caused damage because the ground on the side of my garage is eroding away, and it has removed the side wall and the back wall because of whatever is draining there has caused the garage to separate from the foundation.
Okay. So, yeah, and how long have you lived there?
Since 2017.
2017. Okay.
Okay, so, and each year it just seems to get worse. I don't know if there's a leak in that drainage, but it doesn't show in the driveway. It doesn't show all the way up to the front of the garage, but about 3/4 of the way down, you can start seeing the erosion of the dirt that's sinking. And so, I mean, it has caused the garage to separate, the wall to separate, and the foundation on the garage there is starting and been crumbling. Now, there is also snow that builds up there during the wintertime. I realize that, but not enough to make what's happening attributed to basic snowfall and snow melt. So my question is, are you going to be digging up that whole line on the side of my garage there? And if so, that foundation needs to be fixed.
Yeah, so the drainage is one of the biggest challenges that we have not really studied in depth yet to know exactly our game plan. This outfall actually goes to railroad property, and their wish would be that this outfall just completely goes away, the storm drain line. But the challenge is to get drainage, a storm drain line down to this point, all the way from Arctic Boulevard. We have to install the line really deep, and it's going to require a lot of relocations of sewer services and water services, and it might not even be feasible. So I don't know quite the answer to that question yet.
It's food for thought.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that for you to think on. And my second question is, halfway up my driveway sits a municipality fire hydrant.
Oh yeah, right here. Yeah.
Okay. Will that be relocated, or is that how far you're going to bring up the widen the road? Because I'm just
Right.
curious, and I'm just asking out of curiosity. Because
Yeah, no.
I have friends come by and they go, I parked on the street because I didn't want to park in front of the fire hydrant. And I said, look, the city put it there. It's their fault if they put it there.
Right. Right. Yeah, the fire hydrants and the water and sewer main are in some unique locations out there currently, and we have been in communication with AWWU to make them aware of the roadway project and to ask them if they have any improvements that they would like to make to their infrastructure out there, and they have not said that they were. So I guess the answer today would be we don't plan on relocating any hydrants, but we, again, I'm not sure if AWWU has a desire to, and or whether some of our improvements, the only reason why the roadway project would go to relocate one of those entities, water or sewer, would be just because we would need to do it to facilitate the roadway design. But based upon our kind of our concept road is like typical section right now, we don't anticipate relocating hydrants.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I notified my insurance company. They were ecstatic that it was as close as it was to the house. They're still
Right.
contemplating on reducing my insurance.
Okay, good. Well, that's a silver lining.
But those are the only questions that I had for the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other questions out there? None? Okay. Okay. That doesn't mean that's the last opportunity to ask questions. All this material, tomorrow, what we're gonna do, everything that we've talked about tonight has been documented. We'll write a meeting summary so that the project team and the design staff all know what we've talked about tonight. Again, there's my email address again. If you think of anything else you might need to talk about, you're welcome to reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with the right project team member. Tomorrow, we're going to spend a little bit of time updating the website with everything you've seen tonight, as well as there will be a self-guided virtual meeting that people can participate in. So if you have neighbors who didn't have the opportunity to participate tonight, they can we're recording this so they can watch this, or you can participate in the self-guided meeting. That's also going to be available to you. So tell your neighbors so that they can see what's going on with the project too. This PowerPoint presentation that Justin gave, we'll also upload that.
Thank you.
From the web. Yeah, so everything you need will be on the website. And if you don't find what you need, I can help you find it. Okay. Any other final comments or questions?
Not from me at the moment.
Okay. Well, I think the project team will all agree. We really appreciate your thoughtful comments and questions tonight. It was really great to meet you and hear what you had to think. So thank you.
Late. Y'all need to go have some dinner.
All right, well, no, thank you for giving us this opportunity to know more what's going on in our little part of the world.
Yep.
We're gonna miss that fishing pond. I try stocking it at least in the, as soon as it starts breaking up, I try to stock it, Yeah. But out of curiosity, when do you think you will know when funding has come through?
So at this point, we have a proposed budget that has not been approved yet by the administration to begin design next year. So fingers crossed, once we get done with this design study memo, we can move right into actual design. As far as the construction funding, it's a couple years out right now proposed, and so things change a lot on that side of things. So I don't really want to give any indication that it's being delayed, but it is right now, it's not going to be next year. So
Okay.
let's keep our fingers crossed though that we can keep design moving, and then hopefully if we can have design done, then that ups our chances of getting money for construction as well. So
Well, let's keep everything but our eyes crossed, okay?
sounds good.
And I get at least get one more year to stock the pond.
Yeah.
Because the kids getting on and off the school buses, they're able to, catch fish and take it to school with them,
Oh, jeez.
Here, cook this for lunch.
Put a little beta fish in there or something. That's funny.
So, but I just want to make one last comment on the when you were talking about road speeds. Okay.
Yeah.
On 58th, because people will take the shortcut from International to Arctic by cutting on to Cope and coming down Cope and onto 58th. And so I was, and it has been a COVID year when you took those statistics. And so there's not been as much traffic as normally has been since I've lived here. So I don't want to say they're bad statistics. And I'm not trying to insinuate that at all. I'm just saying that we see prior to COVID, I noticed that there was a lot more traffic on this road.
Gotcha.
So it's food for thought. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And yeah, we kind of knew that we were probably not getting quite reality of, what the normal traffic is out there. We did adjust the average daily traffic to kind of the nearest DOT tracker. So we do sort of a calculation to try to put it towards more average years. But you're right, like the speeds would obviously, maybe those would increase with, maybe more traffic and more cut through action. So no, that's a good comment.
The big birch in front of my house, if you want to come take pictures of it, you can see where the bumpers have hit it.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Because I'm right at the curve. I'm the last house on 58th, and my next door neighbor is on Cope. And people come down that road, and they don't realize the curve is as sharp as it is. And when the house shakes and you think it's an earthquake, but somebody's hit the big spruce tree out front, you're going, WTF, people, what's going on here? And then you look outside and somebody's picking up their survey equipment out of my front yard because they've slammed head first into that big spruce tree, and it didn't hurt the tree at all. It just left a little dent, but you can see the bumper marks in the tree.
Oh,
and
man.
It takes out my mailbox every time. And I'm just like, you sure those speeds are right?
Right. Has anybody hit the fire hydrant?
Thank goodness,
no.
No.
The tree stopped it.
Good.
The tree,
Good.
The tree stops it, but had a former original owner of the house happen to drive by. He said he lived here as a kid. My uncle lived down at the end of this street on the same side of this street back when the houses were built, back in 66 or 68, I forgot. My uncle owned the house down the street, the big ugly blue house. Okay. He owned that house, but he sold it in the 70s. Anyway, but the guy who drove up, was saying he grew up in this house, and he remembers the winter where the fire hydrant blew.
Oh, okay.
And it flooded the whole bottom of the house.
Oh, geez.
Midst the winters. Now, we know those only blow when it's like about 30, 35 below. So that was not a pretty sight, I'm sure.
No.
So anyway, it's just little things, food for thought things that I'm tossing out to you, I'd rather somebody hit that cotton picking tree than hit my house.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe we can look at putting some signage along the road too as part of the improvements, that might help at least alert traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I truly do thank you guys all for your time and staying late, and you guys got to be
Well, time's up.
Okay, well, maybe on that note,
Yeah.
we'll log off.
All right.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
everyone.
Thanks,
You know
everybody.
how to reach us if you need us. Have a great
right.
evening.
Thanks
You
for
know,
Thank
attending.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well. All right. Well,